We'll be talking rugby, of course. NCC Williams is in the studio. Anytime you see him, you know that there's something is really coming up in that federation. Good morning, good to have you. It's been a long, long time.
Wow. Thank you very much. Morning. It's nice to be here once again. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, you know, there's a lot of things to talk about, you know, when you talk rugby. But let's start from the top. I know a lot is happening, but, you know, there's some sports in Nigeria. People ask questions, what are these guys doing? You're the technical director. I know you have a lot to say, but what's been happening, you know, talking about rugby in Nigeria, things that would interest sports fans that we need to know?
Well, last year we were here to, you know, tell Nigerians about the our flagship program, which was the Independence Rugby Tournament, being played at Polo Club in October. That was a huge publicity and rugby promotion event in Nigeria, and we rounded up the year with the a capacity building program for coaches who are from states where there is no rugby at all. So we had about 31 states, you know, in attendance, and right now we're actually having very good feedbacks, you know, from these states, one of which is Akwa Ibom State, my home state. And right now they've included rugby into the second edition of their State Sports Festival, and giving rugby a place in, you know, in the Nest of Champion, you know, complex where we can be using for rugby activities. Selected some schools within the state capital and the 31 local governments, which they're bringing in all the coaches to come and be, you know, trained in, you know, in the program. This is going to come up in March. Now, this year is going to be a very busy year for rugby because throughout last year we've been putting our heads together, planning, and you know, sorting out things. This year, Nigeria is getting back onto the international scene. Since 2009, we hosted last an international event. This year, we are getting a hosting right. We've been offered two, you know, main events to host, and we are to choose which one we will be able to on the senior level. Talking about the women's sevens rugby championship for Africa, not just West Africa, for Africa, and the men's, you know, sevens tournament. Now there was a third one which Ghana has just quickly taken. That's a small, it's a regional, you know, sevens. So we're looking forward to getting back involved on a very high level. Nigeria will be back onto the Bronze Cup. There's a Gold Cup, there's a Silver Cup, and a Bronze Cup. We've been involved in the Bronze Cup for nearly 7 years now. I'm telling you that by the grace of God, this is going to be our last year in the Bronze Cup.
You're moving up.
We must move up, and we have no choice, you know, doing, you know, apart from that.
Okay,
now,
you talked. Yeah, you talked about the women's sevens and, of course, the men's sevens. I'm like, do we have a national team for the women? We don't have the women's team, do we, in Nigeria?
Yes, we do.
I mean, I know we have, but they're like dormant. There's no league to start with for them.
You see, when you get to start things and then it's stopped, it's a bit difficult to start it again. So
why are you guys thinking of hosting when you don't even have the league here?
We've already started. Nigeria went to the Western Northern Africa sevens in Ghana and came second behind Tunisia. Women. And that is without a league. So you can imagine now that this year we're actually going to be having lots of events for the women. The girl child is our priority.
So what are these schools?
We're going into schools for the first time in Nigeria. We're going to be having a national schools rugby tournament for boys and for girls. Going to one of the new states that has started rugby, Benue State. And then we're going to be having a dedicated rugby tournament for the female this year. Last year, we combined it with the male in the independence tournament. But this year, we're going to be having a dedicated, you know, tournament.
Let me take you back a little. There's no better person to ask this question than the technical director. Let's talk about Apathy. A lot of people say if it's not football in Nigeria. People are probably not. So how do you talk about the interest, especially among the young ones? You know, I mean, how do you think they're going to pick rugby over, say, football, basketball, or the level of interest?
Well, you see, there are about 31 sports in Nigeria.
Okay.
Football is, yes, the king of sports in Nigeria because that's where, you know, we've, you know, put our heads into. But going to places like South Africa, rugby is the #1 sport. Yeah. You know, go to places like, you know, Australia, New Zealand, rugby is #1. And this is like the second, I mean, football is the first, but this is the second most popular sport in the world.
All right.
Unfortunately, we haven't caught up on that level in Nigeria, and that's why we're trying to...
But the interest, the level of interest, you think is growing?
You go to a school, for instance, and you throw in a rugby ball to the kids, you'd be shocked to see them put aside the soccer and say, let me just try this new thing. It's a ball which is very abnormal, and to be able to see how it's being played, you're playing it with your hands and with your legs, unlike soccer where it's just with your legs alone.
Yeah.
So the excitement is so much. When we go to schools, you know, to do the Get Into Rugby program, you know, like just over the weekend, you had over 800 kids in Kano, you know, doing an I Try program. Now, it's huge. It's catching fire. And by grace of God, funding, which had always been our bane, is actually being sorted out right now.
That's good
because we're having a team of former rugby players in business marketing rugby for us this time around. We have the likes of Tokumbo Adebayo, the junior brother of the England international, Adebayo, you know, Adebayo, and Ifeanyi Asodu, and then Larry Williams from England.
All right.
And they're all coming in to say, listen, gentlemen, we've been seeing what you guys are doing. We want to come in big time. They're bringing in our foreign professionals. You know, they've been
sports.
Exactly. They've been mailing us to say, listen, my mom is a Nigerian. I've been playing on this level. I want to come and play for Nigeria.
All right.
So we're having all this interest coming in from home and abroad. And we're just looking at how we can harness, you know, the progress. Right now, we have just secured a building, which is going to be called the Rugby House.
All right.
We've not had this for, you know, ever since we started. Now, this is one of the prerequisites from the World Rugby, our international body, for us to be able to stand properly. And the second one being, we need to have a constitution. And by the grace of God, guides the activities. By the grace of God, by the 3rd of March this year, we will be having the representative from the World Rugby coming, the Nigerian Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Sports, to observe Nigerian rugby, you know, adopt a new constitution.
Yeah.